I'm going to create a new project. So new project, single view application as usual. Some name, I think. So create a simple example. As usual, we end up seeing a storyboard with a single view controller added and the view control classes being given. In fact, I'm not going to need this one. What I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this view controller. This is an initial one, that's why it's not going to delete. Okay. I'm going to need table view controller because this example I'm going to talk about a table. The table view controller adds a lot of required protocol delegate methods, so we don't need to write everything from the scratch. So this one pretty useful. Now I'm not going to need this one, so I deleted the previously added view controller. In this case, I'm going to use table view controller. Table view controller, if you see the design, uh, maybe it is a wrapper for a table view. There is a table view exist, that's why it is writing, but it is also having a kind of prototype cells, mean a simple view is ready to be iterated. So this view is going to be iterated based on the content or based on array, whatever you're going to type. Maybe hard to imagine at this point, but let me do some sort of cleanup. So I'm not going to need these classes, so I'll remove them. Just remove them. So now I'm going to need new table view controller. Make sure in the drop down you select table view controller instead of UI view controller, because the class what you are going to create, it is going to be used for a table view controller. So in the drop down, make sure you select table view controller. So okay, just to make it clear, some sort of prefix my table view controller or something like that. So once you create and add the class, it's ready to be used. Make sure immediately pick the table view controller in storyboard. Make sure you assign the table class what you have just created. This is very important step. Then only the underlying objects could be identified by a storyboard. Otherwise, it cannot. Okay. Again, we usually have a habit of defining or putting everything inside a navigation controller. So that part I have to do first. Let me click on this one and click edit. Sorry, editor, embed in navigation controller. Okay, now navigation controller is actually embedding this table view controller, but still, since I deleted a couple of steps, if you notice that the initial view controller, that particular arrow is missing. So make sure you select it and see if you could check is initial view controller. If you make sure this particular initial view controller is added, no problem, your application will be loaded. Otherwise, you will end up seeing a very blank screen if there is no initial view controller. Since we deleted a couple of things, we may be forgetting about maybe forgetting about adding an initial view controller. So in such a case, make sure you select this one is initial view controller. So immediately it will load the navigation controller and then it will wrap it with the table view controller. Now, this cell, I'm going to have we'll make a simple cell, then probably we'll create a complex cell. See, remember there is a table view. If you want, I'll probably show you that. Okay. See, this is a view controller, table view controller. There is a table view exist. See the highlight area. And there is one more view called table view cell exists. This one, this particular smaller, the prototype cell, whatever it is. So it is actually containing two views by default. So one is the table view, another table view cell. If you are messing it up, make sure you can drag and drop from the respective, on the top of the respective view controller. So these are all the views already been given for you. Now, maybe I would prefer a simple label so that it could be displayed steps. A simple label I have just dropped on it. So this is going to be repeated. So this label I'm going to repeat, but a couple of stuff I need to do before. So it label this I am dynamically replace with the data, I mean underlying data what I am planning. And also couple of things I would like to make sure in the last icon in the interface builder, so connection in show the connection inspector something. If you see that, if you see that there is a table view implemented, the referencing outlets, see if you, this very important, this delegate and data source have already been set, means if you notice this my table view controller, it is inheriting from a table view controller, but you can also add couple of delegate UI table view data source and UI delegate table view delegate. Means the storyboard shows me it has two outlets being referenced, table view data source and table view delegate. That I have to implement here, table view data source, table view delegate. You know that in high level languages we will call an interface and we will in the class we will implement any unused methods or something which is there, or any abstract methods are there inside the particular interface, we will implement over here. Xcode what it did, it kept everything and kept it commented. All you need to just uncomment them, because for your convenience it has kept everything implemented but just commented. Whatever you need you can implement. Okay, warning stuff I'll just comment for some time. Okay, few important methods we have to implement. So it has already kept it. I'm just going to uncomment so that I'm going to use. These are all the abstract methods of these particular protocols. I mean, remember I'm using the word protocol in the sense in a kind of a I mean class having abstract methods or interface by start with in a Java convention. So two things I have implemented: UI table view data source, UI table view delegate. So then time to add a maybe an array which could be used to populate a table. So atomic retain. So to sorry ns mutable. I prefer mutable array because can be dynamically added, inserted. Something this is a convention we've been using. So I've defined a property which is nothing but a mutable array, I mean a global object. I try to give you two conventions, but at one point I will start speaking I mean fairly on the Objective C and Swift context. So I'm not going to, it's not appropriate to say an object. In this case I should say property. And I should not say this as an interface, I should say it as a protocol. So this is how the naming convention works in Objective C and Swift. So two protocols have been implemented, have been called at this point because the header file, and I have defined a property called students record which is of type mutable array. And time to synthesize it. Sorry. Okay. This array Make sure you initialize it so that it can be used in a mutable array. Just initialized empty values. It's all stuff. We will come back. Actually, it has given a valuable information. I'll just read through them what exactly it is. So that's the reason I'm not removing it. These two methods had a warning before. I hope you remember, you have seen it. So first thing, number of section in a table view. First abstract method or protocol method. It is asking how many section your table view has. You know that if you have seen in certain tables or maybe iOS phone book, tables are intersection, or maybe you are going to display two tables on the same time. Say if you are putting at restaurant data, non-veg food item, veg food item, but still show it as a single table. So the user may select from two different sections. So if you have a table view which is having multiple sections, you can define it over here. But at this point, this is a simple table view. I'm just going to make it as a single section, one. And another one, table view, number of rows in a section. This is very important. How many rows it is going to contain. That depends on this particular array. So what is the size of an array? That many rows it should add. Student record count. So how many records present? That many rows it should iterate over or it should display. These two are very important. As soon as you create, make sure you implement it. And also this particular two protocol classes have been added to it, and its underlying methods has to be now enabled. One, it is putting a lot of information, but okay, I'll come back to that a little later. Okay, this is, I look pretty good for me. And if your table view require an editable option, iOS table view has some sort of onboard editing option in the table. I'll show you what it is, but I'm just going to make it so it is expecting a Boolean value. Booleans in iOS, Objective-C, yes or no, true or false. Instead here we are using yes, no. Okay, so I just made it as a yes, editable. Let's see. Editing style, will come back to it, because if that editable table may put a delete button. Once the delete button is clicked, what should happen? That exactly the information this particular method is going to do, but we'll come back to it. I'm just going to enable a little later. And this is also, I don't see much important, and rearranging, drag and drop, these are all the stuff I'm not seeing very important. But this one may be handling the events. For example, whenever each cell is clicked, you want to take the user to some other view controller, what you need to do, that particular part. So I'm just going to have it enabled. So one, method 1, 2, of course I'm going to enable this method, but before that I need to do a couple of arrangements in the storyboard, then I'll come back here. Let me go back to the storyboard. Make sure you click this button so that you will see the view controller scenes inside. For example, the view controller contains a table view, and the table view contains a table view cell. Make sure you select the table view cell and go to this particular show attributes inspector. Go to the attribute inspector, give an identifier. For example, you know that a table view controller has a table view inside. No problem. We can because a table view controller by default will contain a single table view. No problem. But the table view cell is an inner child of a table view. It's not directly a child of a table view controller. Table view controller is a wrapper main class. Inside one table view is there. So the child of table view controller is table view. The child of table view is table view cell. See the child hierarchy. So a table view contains a table view cell as a child. So I'm going to say its name is my cell something. Make sure you give a unique name. So identifier, you will come to know what is exactly its use in few seconds. once I define the identifier name, make sure you select the table view cell. See that once I make it, its name has got changed. So the cell, I have given a name, identifier name, my cell. Now go to your controller. Now enable this particular method. Let us see what is method is all about. It is asking, oh, sorry, this is editing one. I am not going to need it. Editing stuff. What exactly I am going to need? This one. Yeah. Cell row at index path mean each cell what you really want to display. This is where the method name, and here a UI table view cell. It is trying to initialize the table view cell. This is the identifier name you are going to replace with the name what you just gave. Now you have instance of a table view cell. Now you can add, or of course once you get an instance of table view cell, you have an instance of the label which is inside. That value you can modify according to the data. So still I need to get the instance of the UI label which has been put inside the table view cell. But the problem here is the my cell, what kind of properties it contains. I mean, what kind of view properties it contains, I'm not really sure. Because of the reason, okay, this prototype cell contains a label. Chances are there it may have an image, it may have some button, it may have anything. So you may have noticed certain tables will contain an image icon in the left or right corner, on some text up or bottom on top, or maybe multiple labels. So you need to know what is the table view cell and what kind of view it contains. So first thing, highlight your label. Now again I am into an attribute inspector. Give a valid tag for it to identify in runtime. Maybe some number you can give, any number you can give. For example, the tag usually carries additional object reference to the particular property. Additional object reference. For example, an object is called UI label. You want to add additional attribute for that. Like you want to attach some data so that it can be retrieved. But the table view cell, the UI label may have lot of attributes such as text, title, whatever it is. Additionally, you want to add something. I'm just going to add a constant, maybe some number, 100. So it will be helpful for me to search the view, identify its tag, and rebuild the object. So let us see how I can rebuild over here. I am searching for a label inside the cell. So since I don't know, I need to typecast it, UI label, cell, some any tag in this. Okay, view with the tag. Oops. You're saying the cell having a tag which is having 100, get that particular object, that is nothing but that label. So because the 100 I have given for this particular label. So if you are adding one more label, make sure you give a different number, maybe 101, and that particular object you can retrieve over here with the tag number. So now I can add any text. Of course, I yet to make the mutable array. I yet to create that. Some name, and you are done. But the problem here is we don't have the student record with the values. Maybe for testing purpose, probably. Okay, let me create a NS dictionary, or shall we create a simple one, student record. add object, I'm directly adding a simple string. It could be NS dictionary, but I'm just making a simple. Sorry. So multiple entries. So I'm just going to display them in a table view. We have to make it dynamic still. Okay, it is an object now. I need to, instead of hard coding it, I'm just going to say student record object at the index. Okay, see, if you notice this particular method, it's also giving me some sort of object called index path. So index path dot row. Index path is an object. It has its row, I mean index 0, 1, 2, 3 something. So every iteration of your what you call this particular student record array, that many times this particular method will be called, because you have given an information. The table view is going to contain so and so number. For example, how many numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 6. So you are telling the table view is going to contain 6 rows. Means 6 times this particular method will be iterated. Each iteration it will pick up the name of the particular or object of the particular NS array or NS mutable array and put that onto the label of that particular table view cell. So that's the procedure. If everything goes well, I should see 6s plus that I don't like. It's still fine. We see that a table, we have no design so far, but a table has been created for you. It's been iterating depending on the data type. Let's add a couple of small designs. We add a make a smaller one. The lower end emulator consumes a lesser memory depending on. Okay, so this table view is based on the data what you supply, because we have made a delegation. For example, this particular table view controller having a delegate methods implemented. Whenever data source, nothing but your source for the data is nothing but the student record array. Whenever array is iterated with the value, the view listens because it's been tied up already. And of course the delegate methods have been implemented so that I can iterate it, listen the click events and give a edit option, various stuff I can do. And of course the edit option, in fact, it should be have I given edit delete. Let me identify some point in time. It is set to S. Okay. Okay, still okay, I'll try to show you how the edit option could be added. Okay, I'll try to make this one dynamic instead of showing hard-coded data. Whenever you change the data, I would recommend, for example, the values could be dynamically added, removed. So there is a method, built-in method table view or built-in property table view, because the table view controller by default contains a table view which has already been initialized. You don't need to add any synthesize anything. Make sure you call reload data whenever you add or edit delete something, so that the delegate methods will get called and automatically the table view will be updated. But even though I haven't called at this point because it's a very simple and it's a kind of a static data to start with, so I feel there is something wrong in the auto layout. Let me see. Reset to suggested constraint. Okay, it is going up to here. Trying to show you the edit option. Okay, never mind. Okay, let us create a simple form so that we dynamically add the content instead of hard coding the value. So we usually did in the previous example in jQuery mobile, we created the form, maybe did little inside. When the user goes to that particular page, he adds the entry and comes back, he sees the new entry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a view controller to my design. Just go to some space, drag a view controller. Okay. And I'm going to add a bar button item. Bar button item here. Just going to be, let me select it. The style, if I can give you any style, that would be nice. We make it as a add. Usually in attribute inspector, okay, here, okay, this one I am looking for. There is an icon, built-in icon, so you can make it as a plus. These are all the plain iOS design, like this is how iOS, we don't do much of a design. There are built-in, so make sure you change the style to plain and system item. So there are various icons available for you. So you can choose one. So whenever this button is clicked, we are going to land it over here, and we are going to maybe, and I need to add a segue. Okay. So whenever the plus button clicked, it is going to come into this view controller. There, I'm going to add some form. So text field. Placeholder, enter name. Okay, so maybe we'll add label because we are going to use the same thing for add edit. Shrink it for a while. and button. I prefer a left oriented design, that's the reason I am dragging till the end so that auto layout works perfect. Okay, looks fine. And we have to add a title. So, navigation item missing. So this view controller, remember this is just a plain view controller and it's having a form. When the user click on name and subject, he goes back and new item is added to the table view. That's an idea. Okay. Back button by default should get added, but we still need a reverse segue or unwinding a segue option because to bring back the data that we will work on. At this point, a view controller is ready. Time to create a class. I'm just going to make it as a view controller based and edit. Maybe for editing purpose also I'm going to use the same. Add edit view controller. I created the underlying class. Now go to storyboard, select the view controller and give the name of the class what you just created. So now we have two input text field and a button. Time to define their property. This one. Okay. Go to the multiple view. I'm just going to need to header file. Define the property. Control command. Say name field. And this one. Subject field. So two properties. The button I am going to associate with the event, so I don't need this to be. Until I require an option to change the label, maybe I would need it, but I'll just implement that as well. Sorry, it is not. It is selecting as a UI view. It's pretty bad. Okay. See, if you see that it should be UI text field, but it is in turn has added as a UI view. Something really going wrong. Time to remove them. I'm going to need them. This is sometime will happen when the correct view is not selected. I'm not going to this one. Yeah. So this I'm going to select the text field. Now I'm coming here. Now if you see that UI text field Y has been selected. So name subject. So button also I'll implement it. The labels are static content, so I don't need to initialize them. I just define those things. Fine. Require synthesize them. Okay. We have already put a segue. Let's see how these things looking before checking how the data could be connected with the table. Now if we see, still not good, but okay. Constraints has not been set properly. Let's select everything. Go to reset to suggest constraint. Now looking fine. So I'm going to add. So once I click save, it should get dismissed and should add an entry over here. So that's an idea. So let us remove the static contents. We'll make it dynamic at this point. Go to the table view controller. If you guys have anything to discuss, you can go out and discuss. When I take a session, make sure you put an entire attention to it. I really give a lot of leniency. You guys take it for granted, and that's really I don't like. Whenever freedom has to be taken, take it, no problem. But when the session is started, make sure you put a concentration on that point. If you have anything other than that need to be discussed, you can very well go out and discuss. Okay, so we'll have to make it dynamic. Time to listen the segues, where it is going and coming back. The very first point, having a reverse segue, so that I can, because the form, the particular design what we have implemented, when we go to the second view controller, add the data, when I come back only, I'm going to get the new data from the previous view controller. So the reverse part is very important at this point. So that particular segue, we have already seen that example. Implement call back, some name you can give. It's going to contain argument as UI story segue. So this particular method I am going to use to detect whether I am coming back with the data or not. We have to implement it somewhere. Okay, let me implement just before here. Okay, now when this kind of a reverse segue callback method has been implemented, when you see it's just a method, I'm just given a name as a callback. Now we have to connect it. There is a exit segue. Once you right click, you will get the name. Remember, I am just calling it the second view controller. The method has been implemented in my table view controller, but whereas I'm going to the storyboard, I'm going to the second view controller. I'm just searching, is there any reverse segue available? Yes, it is available, and connect. So whenever save button is clicked, it will dismiss itself and will go back. Let's see that. Otherwise, and it's just going back. Pretty good. A basic design is done. Let us connect everything with the data source. If that's needed, I would always recommend having an identifier, segue identifier. Say add edit segue. This will be helpful for editing purpose, but at least at this point I'm just keeping it as an add edit segue. Now this student record I need to dynamically add whenever I get a callback in this segue. So the callback, first thing, import the particular header of the view controller which is having add edit form. Add edit view controller. This view controller header added, so you are aware of what all the protocol or property methods are there. Properties are there in that particular view controller. Now rebuild it using, so edit controller, say okay, typecast. Oh, okay, this It's always recommended to check. Okay, so segue source view controller. This time it's a source view controller. It's kind of class and edit controller class. This will make sure the specific view controller back path has been selected. Otherwise, you may have multiple buttons which is calling back. You need to know from where it is coming back. So it is always having the if block checking, okay, the reverse segue has given me a source view controller that is actually an instance of add view control or edit view control. If not, this particular block won't be called. Now build your add edit view controller. Segue source view control. Okay. Now let us build a NS mutable dictionary. Just initialize an empty dictionary or object and set object for a key. Object I'll arrive at it for a key at the rate I'm just going to say name. Okay, this view controller has a name field and text. That is going to be added to this object. And another one is subject field. Subject. Okay. So I built a NS dictionary, a mutable dictionary at this point. Now I am going to add this students record add object. So whenever the view get dismissed, it will bring the name and subject what you have typed, and it will create a NS mutable dictionary. And that dictionary is going to have two attribute names, name and subject, and that finally gets added to a NS mutable array. Whenever array has a new entry, make sure you refresh, reload. Because an array has got a new entry, now refresh the table view, and again it will call all the protocol methods, refresh the table, or just or invalidating the table, or refreshing mean recreating everything. So this particular, the moment the reload data is called, and again it will create the table view with the new cells, and you will have a new data added to it. Let's see, it should work. Okay, this is slightly a different object. We have forgot it here. This one, previous example, we did a very simple data type which had a single object. We did not have a name, attribute, value, definition, or whatever. It did not even have a dictionary. Now I need to modify this particular point. First thing, let's build a name object. Student record object at the index, from the index path row. First thing, sorry, it's not string in fact. First get the object, student object, from the selected row. Now add it object for the key name, because the NS dictionary, what we are adding here, is having two attributes, name and the subject. So first I need to build the dictionary. From the dictionary I need to fetch the attribute associated, the having a name called, in this case name itself. So that you retrieve and add it to the text. I'm not going to show the subject, so fine. Now we have first entry added. We got an entry is being populated. So it's a kind of a dynamic data. So these tables dynamically populated. I'm not done yet still. Once I click the table, I want to go back to the same form so that I can edit them. So let us complete that round. So how to listen the click events or select events of this particular table. Okay, that's already been given. Prepare for segue and segue sender, ID sender, something. But I couldn't show you the edit option. Let me comment this part. This is actually responsible for adding the delete button. I just uncommented that method. I haven't done even a single line of change over there, but I'll see what exactly it is showing. Yeah, if you swipe it, it adds a delete option. So that's the reason we had enabled table view can edit at row index path when you set yes, and also you enable this method. This is actually for deleting callback, but I'll come back a little later. I just uncommented this code. When you see that each entry has a delete button, you just need to swipe and you will see the additional the context menu or whatever it is. We have the editable option. Okay, now let us give a edit option. As the user click on the cell, we are going to go back to the same view controller with the values preloaded. So let us create that as well. Then we will end up. Okay, when this particular cell is getting clicked, make sure you highlight the cell. You are going to take the user to this particular what you call view controller. So when cell is getting clicked, control command and land it to this particular view controller. Second segue has got added. Notice this first one already having an identifier added in segue. I'll make it as a add segue because it is only serving the purpose of add. This one I am going to make it as a edit segue. So we have two segues, one for this particular plus button to land. This is only for adding purpose. This particular segue, which is based on the cell clicks, and it is going to land to the same view controller, but this time it's going to have different identifier, edit segue. So let's first verify whether cell clicks are working or not. So when I click, I can go. Of course, it is working, but we have to bring the data to that particular segue. I mean, a view control. So let us go back. This is giving you prepare for segue. By default, it's been put. First thing, identify if seg equal to the string then we will assign the values. Okay, first thing we have to identify the index. N as integer. Integer is a primitive type, so just a name index. No star. I'm not putting a star because it's itself a primitive type. Table view. Index path for selected row and the row. I mean, any table which has got selected will have its index path and which row it is selected. So you will get the index of the selected path. So let me first build the object. So student record object at index object for the key. So I built the name and let me verify whether I am getting it or not. Click, yes, I do get the name. So the selected name, we could retrieve it. All we need to take the data to the second view controller. That's that particular technique we have already tested. But only thing, I'm going to need little help because the UI fields cannot be used, or this particular properties will only work when the view is ready, view did load is executed. So I'm going to need one more property. NS dictionary I'm going to use. So just declared it and synthesize it. When view is ready, name field, set the text equal to student object. So I defined a NS dictionary property in the header file. I mean synthesized it, and now I need to point this value whenever the cell is clicked or whenever cell is highlighted. So at this point, okay, let us recreate that particular view controller. This time destination view controller, because the forward one, this guy is, oh sorry, pointer missing. And edit controller has a student object, and pass this object where it is, okay, student record object at the index. I'm sending the whole object. Once the object lands over there, it will open and display in the respective UI fields, name field, subject field. Because the student object I am passing from TableViewController. So let us see. So now if I click it, I end up seeing the selected values being taken over here. Values are sent, or data is being sent back and forth. Of course, I need to do a little other code addition to make it editable and deletable. Or maybe the delete I can handle over here itself. I need to make it as a editable, and of course there are a couple of other logic I need to add in order to make it, because at this point if I click save, it will add a duplicate entry. So that exactly is not working. So I need to do a little code logic in order to make this particular one is for editing or deleting. So we have to see that, because the save button not only works as a what you call adding the record, it should also save as work as a edit record. So that part we will work down maybe tomorrow, but at least at this point you should be able to create a table view controller with the table view and underlying table cell with the delegates added and or protocol methods added, which is having the connection with the data source, a mutable array. So based on the mutable array value change, the table view adds a new row. And of course we have added one more table view controller to make the particular table view data dynamic. So the data is being entered over here. Once the data is successfully entered, the values being updated. So value update happens only because of the reason it has two protocols implemented. One is UI table view data source and delegate. So any changes happen to the data source, it knows and updates itself. So that particular point, I followed a lot of convention. Remember, it should be a table view controller. Make sure the table view controller with a valid class name what you have created, and also you are going to make sure in the connection inspector these two things already been implemented. If there is this not implemented, this particular table dynamicity would not work, because it has to have certain delegate and protocol methods implemented. And of course it is going to have a single view at this point, and table protocol cell is going to have a single label. So I have given a tag value for this particular, what is that, where we have given, yeah, should be somewhere, yeah, tag 100 I have given. So in order to identify the view, what all the view the table view cell contains, I need to give a tag or unique ID for this particular label, so that additional object retrieval possible. And in this additional protocol methods, I enabled couple of methods. More importantly, two methods: number of sections in the table view and number of rows in the section. So single section and number of rows depends on the number of data present in the NS mutable array. And this one I have enabled in order to iterate it over the cell with the valid cell ID, and of course that I'm rebuilding the label and passing the values, and I'm making sure that particular table view cell is editable, and also I'm handling the event whenever the table view cell delete and edit option gets clicked. We'll work down. I will extend the code maybe tomorrow session. Make sure you get used to this particular convention of creating a table view and table view controller and table view cell. Maybe next session I'll add a couple of images, make little things are pretty dynamic. Like, just plain tables we are seeing quite often. It's pretty boring. Why not add a small image icon and create some sort of different design for the table. So that part I'll work down, and also I'll integrate it with the core data, which is a persistent engine what we have in iOS development. Another way of persisting the data along with the edit and delete option inclusion. So that part we will discuss maybe tomorrow afternoon. You guys have to work down this example.